From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate reschedules screening of newly appointed service chiefs to Wednesday, October the 29th, reverses its earlier plan for next week. Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, renowned economist Mr. Tedo Peterside, identified sycophancy and a mindset to steal as barriers to good governance in Nigeria. Dr. Christopher Kolade, one of Nigeria's most revered statesmen, has been laid to rest, remembered for integrity, service, and a lasting legacy as a national leader. And Hurricane Melissa slams into Jamaica, unleashes fierce winds as emergency officials warn of life-threatening and catastrophic flooding.
In On Business, House of Representatives push new law to regulate Nigeria's fast-growing fintech sector.
On Sports News tonight, the Super Falcons have officially qualified for the 2026 CAF Women's African Cup of Nations holding in Morocco next year.
And from the nation's capital, the U.S. revokes Professor Wole Soyinka's visa as the Nobel laureate says he knows no reason for the decision.
We begin tonight from the Red Chamber of the National Assembly as the Senate has brought forward the screening of newly appointed service chiefs to Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025, reversing its earlier decision to conduct the exercise next week. The announcement came shortly after the Senate President Godswill Akpabio read a separate correspondence from President Bola Tinubu seeking the confirmation of appointments of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede. Well, according to Senator Akpabio, the change is to enable the military chiefs assume their duties immediately. President Tinubu had urged the Senate to give expeditious consideration to the confirmation process to ensure continuity and effective coordination of the nation's security architecture. The Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, and renowned economist Mr. Tedo Peterside have identified sycophancy and a mindset to steal as barriers to good governance in Nigeria. They made this submission at the Oxford Global Think Tank Leadership Conference in the nation's capital, Abuja. Meanwhile, Governor Alex Oti of Abia State has expressed optimism that leaders in Nigeria can reinvent the wheel.
It's a gathering of renowned Nigerians with leadership footprint in governance or public and private sectors, and the focus is on leadership. The conference provides an opportunity for introspection and to dissect Nigeria's leadership question.
Leadership changed in 2023, and under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it changed for the better. If you look at the record, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the progress that has been made, there is an attempt to ensure that the pains of reform have immediately been alleviated.
The panel session featured conversations around fuel subsidy removal and the way its proceeds are managed.
I'm not one of those people when you're out of government, you fight against fuel subsidy. When you're in government, you advocate fuel subsidy. That's part of Nigeria's and Africa's problem. People take positions not based on the truth, but based on what a personal agenda they are pursuing. So I'll be the first one to give credit to this government for removing the fuel subsidy, which some of us started calling for from the very first economic summit over 30 years ago. The real test is what is being done with that revenue in their hands. Is that revenue supposed to be used to fuel 400 cars to escort the president to the airport? These are the things that have caused the pain. And all this talk about, oh, after the pain comes the gain. It is true if after the pain, you carry out all the other supporting reforms to improve efficiency, improve government spending. People talked about trying to implement, to eliminate wastage and so on. But if after the pain, what you do is to continue reckless spending that is going on all over the nation, then that pain can go on forever.
If you stop paying subsidy, why are we still borrowing more? Because if you fill the hole, we should have the revenue to fund expenditure. But we fill in one hole and dig in a bigger hole. So this government needs to look at institutions. It needs to look at the quality of spending. It needs to understand that if you keep making more money and keep blowing it away, you're going to undo what you have done.
The panel also identified corruption and sycophancy as barriers to good leadership in Nigeria.
When leaders allow themselves to be surrounded by praise singers and by sycophants, they never get good advice. So we need to begin to ask as leaders, who do we surround ourselves with? And please, those who are ministers and those who speak to the president, it is not to your benefit to turn yourselves, you disgrace yourselves, you debase yourselves by turning yourselves into praise singers.
The Oxford Global Think Tank Conference is an annual event that brings together leaders from all walks of life to brainstorm and chart a path to national development.
My governor, the governor of Abia State.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says that Nigeria, under President Bola Tinubu, is preparing to establish a medical city, a self-sustaining ecosystem of the world-class healthcare services, recent and research development, and associated industrial development, all to support the Nigerian market and the African continent. He announced this during a tour of the Manila Medical City on the sidelines of the Stop TB Board meeting in the capital in the Philippines.
The Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Mohammed Pate, arrives in Manila Medical City in the Philippines and is received by the Philippines Minister of Health, Dr. Teodoro Herbosa. The working visit is on the sidelines of the Stop TB Board meeting holding in the capital of the Philippines. Speaking after touring the facility, the minister announced plans by the federal government to establish a medical city, a self-sustaining ecosystem of world-class healthcare services, research and development in Nigeria.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is transforming Nigeria's health system through his Renewed Hope agenda, Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. I think there's a possibility that Nigeria can, in fact, have an ecosystem, a medical city that provides quaternary services for Nigerians, for countries in the West African sub-regions, and also overall in the continent. Can provide services, research, training opportunities in an ecosystem that can be sustainable. As Nigeria is moving to expand health insurance, just as we've seen here in the Philippines, the PhilHealth health insurance, which is funded out of sin taxes, taxing tobacco, alcohol, sugar-sweetened beverages, and earmark those additional taxes to expand health coverage for population. That has been able to allow the government to provide care, quality care, to purchase those for the majority of its population.
Meanwhile, Dr. Herbosa is optimistic of collaborating with Nigeria to eliminate tuberculosis.
When I was in Abuja, we also saw how the public-private partnership also worked in Nigeria to combat TB. So we are high-burden countries, Nigeria and Philippines, and we are both learning from each other. He used the TrueNAT testing for remote areas. I'm going to follow that. And he's now looked at our mobile X-ray, which is one of the things he visited. And we hope that he can also use this mobile X-ray screening to catch more TB patients. And we're very happy to have Minister Pate join us together with the First Lady of Nigeria, who is a very strong TB advocate.
Professor Pate is hoping to strengthen international collaboration to address the nation's healthcare delivery. Victoria Longjon, Channels Television News.
Elder statesman and diplomatic doyen Dr. Christopher Kolade has been buried in Lagos today at a solemn and heartfelt farewell service held at St. Peter's Church in Faji, Lagos Island. Family members, dignitaries including former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun and many others all came to pay their final respect to the man who made huge contributions in broadcasting, corporate leadership, diplomacy and public service. The funeral service held in honor of the late Dr. Christopher Kolade radiates the quiet grace and dignity that defined his life. The atmosphere is serene, every hymn, every word, a gentle echo of the character of the man being remembered. Presiding over the service, Right Reverend Professor Dapo Ashaju, Bishop of Ilesha Diocese of the Anglican Church of Nigeria, delivers a message rooted in faith and reflection. He reminds believers that a life lived in righteousness leaves no room for fear of the life to come.
Paul, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, he says as follows, and it's very loaded. But I will not want you to be ignorant. My dear brethren, death is convocation and graduation. I want you to be very familiar about what will happen concerning those who sleep, so that you will not sorrow like those who have no hope. Sorrow simply means mourning. Hopelessness, worrying unnecessarily, like those who have no hope. Those who are not in Christ, whose names are not in the book of life, they have everything to worry about, because it is appointed unto man once to die. After that comes the judgment. So he says, I don't want you to be like them. You must be sure of what is going to happen. Jesus said he was going to prepare a place for you. He will come again to take you to be where he is.
He speaks of Dr. Kolade as a rare example, a man whose contributions in broadcasting, corporate leadership, diplomacy, and public service were marked not by ambition alone, but by unwavering integrity. From his days as Director General of the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission to his leadership at Cadbury Nigeria, and later as Nigeria's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Christopher Kolade carried himself as a steward of honesty and national service.
He was known as a man of integrity, would not take a bribe, would not circumvent procedure, a man who could not be corrupted. It is possible to have incorruptible people in Nigeria. There are still many good people in Nigeria who are highly disciplined. It is just that opportunity has not been given to them to be at the center stage. He is a role model, and I believe by the grace of God he has mentored so many people. So there is hope that we'll still have leaders who will be able to rise up, to be able to bring progress to our society in the name of Jesus Christ.
Help me say goodbye. Help me say
For many, he was more than a public figure. He was a mentor, a moral compass, a quiet but enduring source of inspiration. And it is that legacy, carved in dignity and devotion, that continues to live in the hearts of those within and beyond Nigeria. And in part two, after the break, a service of songs, night of tribute in honor of Nigeria's revered statesman, Dr. Christopher Kolade. Please join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Senate reschedules the screening of newly appointed service chiefs to Wednesday, October the 29th, reverses its earlier plan for next week. Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, renowned economist Mr. Ted Obitasai, identifies sycophancy and a mindset to steal as barriers to good governance in Nigeria. Dr. Christopher Kolade, one of Nigeria's most revered statesmen, has been laid to rest, remembered for integrity, service, and a lasting legacy of national leadership. And Hurricane Melissa slams into Jamaica, unleashes fierce winds as emergency officials warn of life-threatening and catastrophic flooding. Before the funeral service for the late Dr. Christopher Kolade, a service of songs and night of tribute was held in honor of the iconic National Theatre right here in Lagos. President Bola Tinubu, who was represented at the event, described Dr. Kolade as a man of immense integrity, humility, and vision who left an indelible mark on the nation's history. Other prominent Nigerians also highlighted Dr. Kolade's distinguished career in broadcasting and diplomacy, as well as his tireless advocacy for corporate governance and social justice.
In a solemn yet celebratory gathering, the nation bid farewell to a true statesman, Dr. Christopher Kolade, who left an indelible mark on Nigeria's history. The service of songs and tributes night was a fitting homage to a life of unwavering dedication, integrity, and service to humanity. As the mournful melodies fill the air, friends, family, and well-wishers honor the legacy of this diplomatic doyen. President Tinubu, represented by his Chief of Staff, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, eulogized Dr. Kolade as a paragon of virtue, whose life was a masterclass in humility, vision, and excellence.
We do not mourn Dr. Kolade because we know, and the evidence abounds, that he lived a good life of service to God and country, and he showed abundant compassion for humanity in his endeavors. Our grief, he says, stems from knowing that with his passing, our nation has lost the talents, experience, and courage of a principled, progressive, and passionate individual. For Mr. President, Dr. Kolade now belongs to the ages. He prays that his legacy of uncommon service to our nation and humanity inspire all of us and future generations. That the grace and mercy of God comfort the family and friends he leaves behind.
The gathering was a testament to the profound impact of Dr. Kolade's life, with eminent personalities from various walks of life sharing heartfelt tributes. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo reminisced about his cherished friendship with Dr. Kolade.
Chris and I have come a long way. There are a number of friends that I kept. I don't have too many of them, but the ones that I have are real, very good friends. And Chris was one of them. Chris doesn't angle for anything. I had to beg him, persuade him to accept to be the Nigerian High Commissioner in London. And the reason why I wanted a man of his caliber was that we have had differences with Britain on South Africa and on Namibia and the last vestiges of colonialism. And we got that right, and the Queen even came here to bless Chogom. And I wanted somebody who would help us to maintain that. Not only that, we have the largest number of Nigerians in diaspora today in the UK. And I also wanted somebody who will help us take care of that.
This is corroborated by a former Minister of Finance and the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
A man of faith, of integrity and honesty, Uncle Chris was a shining example of how to serve his fellow women and men, whether in the public or private sector.
Bishop Olubunmi Akilade, in his homily, asked all to live an exemplary life like Dr. Kolade did.
Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And that's the Christian hope, that even when we die, when this flesh dies, we live on. Just as we believe our dear father and brother lives on. And for those who might have lost loved ones, we console ourselves with the fact that they live on.
As the ceremony drew to a close, the echoes of soul-stirring hymns and musical performances lingered, a poignant reminder of the void left by Dr. Kolade's passing.
Celebrate Daddy today. Describe a man for things tonight. For sticking out. I gave you a sense of man that he was in his faith. Loving humans feels so very. Thank you for celebrating with us today.
A poignant reminder of the void left by Dr. Kolade's passing. Yet, his enduring legacy serves as a powerful reminder of the transformative power of a life well lived, inspiring generations to come.
Kindness, goodness. So when I ask the question...
And to more tributes pouring in for Dr. Christopher Kolade, this time from those who crossed paths with him while alive. He was a trainer of many broadcasters who today are blazing the trail. He also impacted on some great intellectuals who say that they will truly miss his calm authority shaped by a culture of discipline and decency.
He taught that leadership begins with listening and that success without integrity is just noise. Long after the lectures were gone, he never stopped teaching. When something went wrong in channels, my phone would ring. His voice calm but firm. John, I just saw something on your station. You can do better than that. And always, he was right. He didn't scold, he guided. He cared enough to call, to remind us that the standard must never sleep. He believed in me. He believed in us. That we could hold the line he once held, that truth and dignity still belong on air. Now the phone will not ring again, but his voice remains, not in sound, but in conscience. Each time the red light comes on, I still hear him, calm, measured, unwavering, reminding me that the air must stay true. The voice is silent now, yet the echo endures. And in that echo, we will always hear Dr. Christopher Kolade, teacher, mentor, statesman, broadcaster, a man who made the air itself dignified. I can still hear his voice. Yes, I can still hear it. Thank you.
Thank you. We in NLP are we are profoundly proud of him. We thank God for his life of service, for the inspiration he gave, and for the love he showed his people. So his dear wife, Lady British Kolade, and younger sister sitting by the side here in front, and the entire Kolade family, we extend our deepest prayers and sympathy. May the Lord, who called him home, comfort and strengthen you.
He was humble, debonair, cosmopolitan, elegant. He was modest, he was witty, intelligent, good-natured, versatile, charismatic, diligent, patient, good listener, punctual, trustworthy, God-fearing, and of course, fatherly in every sense of the word. Ambassador Dr. Christopher Kolade, CON, our own CK, will forever live in our hearts, in our minds, because he was a good leader of people, Mr. Integrity, Mr. Punctuality. He was a mentor, a great business leader of our times, with extraordinary endowment. He was also a teacher, motivator, and realist, and an embodiment of godliness and contentment. This is a tribute to a man who has demonstrated unusual capacity to straddle many generations at once, directly influencing simultaneously the generation before him, his own generation, and many more generations after him.
Still ahead on the news at 10, House of Representatives push new law to regulate Nigeria's fast-growing Fintech sector. And that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. We head over to Abuja studios now, where Terry Ikume is standing by to bring us more stories on the news at 10. Over to you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much, Anne. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has announced the revocation of his visa to the United States of America. Professor Soyinka made this known today during a meeting with journalists at Konge's Harvest Gallery, Freedom Park, Lagos Island. The Nobel laureate says the U.S. consulate informed him of the revocation in a letter dated October 23, 2025. He expressed surprise and confusion over the decision, stating that he was unaware of any wrongdoing that could have led to the revocation. He believes the action is linked to his criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump and his policies. Professor Soyinka had previously torn up his U.S. green card in protest after President Trump's 2016 election victory and had declined a U.S. consulate invitation for a visa re-interview in September 2025, citing the date's historical significance as the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. The Intercontinental Distillers Limited, makers of premium alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, has celebrated its 2025 Distributors Award Night in Lagos. The event recognized key distributors across the country for their dedication and contribution to the growth of the company in the year 2024.
It's a night of celebration, recognition and appreciation as Intercontinental Distillers Limited hosts its 2025 Distributors Award Night in the nation's bustling commercial hub, Lagos. The glamorous event brings together the company's valued distributors, key partners and customers from across the country to honor their outstanding commitment, loyalty and contributions to the IDL brand in the year 2024.
I'm delighted to welcome you to Intercontinental Distillers Limited 2025 Distributors Award ceremony. To us in IDL, our customers are our greatest assets and the backbone of our business. We thank you for being part of our journey, and we look forward to continued growth and many successful years together.
The evening, marked by lovely performances from a dance troupe, precedes the official unveiling of the company's latest offerings to the market.
What you have seen today, we have introduced 3 new brands, the Chelsea flavored orange and strawberry, and our new bottled ivory cream. And we want to believe that this has increased and expanded our portfolio, and in the process, as a company, we'll be happier, we'll be bigger, we'll be stronger, and for our distributors to give them a greater reach.
We are very innovative, and we believe in the consumer. So we follow the consumer story and develop brands that have very strong equities that will resonate with them. And therefore, at the moment of need, the brands that should and always does come to mind are our brands.
And then the awards presentation unfold, honoring hundreds of distributors from across the country whose dedication continues to drive the company's success in Nigeria's competitive beverage industry. Saving the best for last, 4 top performers emerge as the overall platinum winners of 2024.
It's beyond my imagination. It's God. And with my relationship with my customer make everything possible for me to be #1 overall.
Founded in 1983, Intercontinental Distillers Limited, a leading Nigerian manufacturer and marketer of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, continues to expand its footprints across the country, maintaining its reputation as a trusted name in the beverage industry.
The Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Oil, Mr. Heineken Lukwubiri, says the target of the federal government is to retain within Nigeria a large proportion of the investment value in hydrocarbon production. According to Mr. Lukwubiri, making Nigeria the refining and distribution hub for the entire continent is a policy the federal government is pursuing in its quest for energy sufficiency. The minister was speaking shortly before declaring open the 19th edition of the OTL Africa Downstream Energy Week in Lagos. Our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, brings us details.
For 19 years, the OTL Africa Downstream Convocation has continued to serve as a rallying point for the continent, a hub for creative debates around prevailing concerns, an exhibition booth for new technologies, and a continental network center. The 2025 theme, Energy Sustainability, Growth Beyond Boundaries and Competition, Nigeria is being called up to bear the torch of Africa.
For Africa, sustainability is not a choice between one energy source and another. It is about creating balance in our energy mix. That is why this sector must continue to sit at the center of Africa's growth strategy.
We are deploying new infrastructure and revamping existing assets to support strategic alliances.
A strong advocate of just transition and now energy sufficiency, Nigeria's Minister of State Oil says 1.5 billion people in Africa, 120 million liters daily fuel demand is a huge market opportunity.
The International Energy Agency, that was the proponent of net zero, that threatened the value of our oil and gas resources, has now changed the course. That's good news for Nigeria.
Nigeria's deregulated downstream is changing the scope of business, and that is necessitating updated regulatory instruments.
In the coming weeks, the NMDPRA will launch the Gas Commodity Exchange, which will be the first of its kind in Africa, serving as a major spot and reference market for natural gas and its derivatives. We will also conclude the process of establishing the West African Regulators Forum to support the regional hub and reference market for the trading of refined products.
The deregulation of the downstream petroleum sector, the renewed commitment to gas commercialization, and the focus on infrastructure development have laid a foundation for long-term growth.
Oil refining, petroleum products trading, shipping, tank storage, logistics, marketing and retail, in addition to LPG, petrochemicals, power, finance services, are some policy areas these African energy players are keeping a keen eye on.
We're happy that the entire industry is represented and is speaking towards these issues, and hopefully from these engagements we're able to begin to see a way that ensures everybody is able to work together.
Through the week, conference will be hoping to facilitate open discussions, resolve issues and challenges thrown up by changes in the domestic policy environment.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's now over to Willie Bong in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Terry. And the House of Representatives has taken a major step toward creating a Fintech Regulatory Commission as a bill seeking to establish it passed second reading on Tuesday. And the bill, sponsored by Lagos lawmaker Fuad Laguda, aims to provide oversight for Nigeria's rapidly growing digital finance sector. Laguda said millions of Nigerians now depend on Fintech platforms for payments and money transfers, but the absence of a clear regulatory framework has raised concerns about consumer protection, financial stability, and fraud prevention.
The lack of a clear regulatory framework has led to concern about commercial protection, financial stability, and prevention of financial crimes. The objective of this bill, Nigerian Fintech Regulatory Commission Bill, is to aim to provide clear regulatory framework for the fintech industry, ensure that...
Now, still in the finance sector, a significant chapter in Nigeria's financial evolution has just unfolded in Lagos as CASA Microfinance Bank officially launches its operations built on the theme, The Evolution. The bank's management states that the brand is committed to delivering top-notch and lightning-fast banking services by seamlessly combining modern technology with the warmth and trust associated with traditional banking.
Blue is the color and evolution is the theme. The unveiling of CASA Bank, described as the bank for the future, featuring offers that bring convenience to life, and guests look forward in excitement.
We've evolved. We're no longer talking brick and mortar anymore. Imagine when you have issues with your bank and you try to send money or you try to do whatever you want to do on it and you can't trust it. But for CASA, there's trust. And I want you to think about it as a blue home for your money.
For the co-founders, this evolution is massive and is set to revolutionize how banking is done in Nigeria, where different apps are typically required for various services.
And the question is, what if we have all of your banking needs in one place, in a way that is easy, accessible, and very secure for you? And this is what CASA Bank is here to do. One of the things that we promise, or as a value proposition, or you would say one of the things that makes us different, is in making your lives easier.
And so let's talk about the regulatory aspects of this. I'm very proud to announce that we are licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we didn't just open the shop to just do anyhow, and also your deposits are insured by the NBIC. We also take data protection very seriously and we're certified by the NDPR. So you can be assured that you are banking with the best.
To get started, all users need to do is download the app from the iOS App Store or Google Play Store. Follow the prompts and begin enjoying features including the Snap and Pay.
So when did you get to here? I don't know, so we just saw their booking and somebody was just there, standing but we just came, just this Snap and Pay, and you got your suya in peace. That is where evolution comes into play.
What if Nika is my friend over there? If I want to make a transfer to her, it's as easy as sending a tweet. A round of applause, please.
With guests, including Oba Elegushi, warmly appreciated for attending, the unveiling takes place officially.
Big shout out to CEO, Champion Honors, CEO, big shout out to
With that done, the management of Casa Bank states that its team is now providing one of the most convenient, safe, reliable, and lightning-fast banking services, all in one app.
And here's John Mekwa with highlights of today's trading at the stock market.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Well, profit taking continues at the NGX at the close of the second session of trade this week. Today, the all share lost and went down 0.09%, and we're at 155,353. At intraday, we had about 500 right here. So that has been taken up by investors. And we see this, that continued profit taking, especially in the banking sector. It was down again today, 0.66%, because UBA, GTCO, Accessco, well, Accessco has had its own drive, and now we see that investors are taking out some of those profit that they've gotten right there, as well as Zenith. That has driven this counter down, keeping it in the red since last week. Consumer goods has joined that, also 0.42%. Champion is leading that today, leading that profit-taking train. Oil and gas is the only survivor today, but not because of Aradel. Aradel, well, has entered the profit-taking session. Japo Gold and O&O, they had some cherry picking today, and so we see that that counter retained the green color. Top trades today, we see the financials from Sovereign Insurance, Fidelity, and First Hold Co. They were very attractive to investors, but at the end of the second trading session for this week, we have the bear again.
Let's see the snapshot of closing numbers of other major equities around the world. And that's business news. Is back and to the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. Let's now join Simon Pusey for more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says catastrophic hurricane force winds have hit Jamaica, causing devastation to large parts of the island. Jamaica's Minister of Health said yesterday that 3 people had died while preparing for the approaching storm. Hurricane Melissa is predicted to be one of the most powerful to hit Jamaica on record. The storm is very slow-moving, making it even more dangerous. Many people have evacuated, but around 1,000 people remain holed up in shelters on the island.
Every Jamaican, I believe, understands how this threat is severe.
Well, in addition to being a dangerous and very powerful Category 5 hurricane, Melissa is remarkable in the sense that it's moving so very slowly. How slowly? 3 miles per hour, essentially a walking pace. Typically, hurricanes, tropical systems moving through the Caribbean will be moving 5, maybe 10 times faster than that. So as devastating as the rain and wind will become as it comes through, it is going to be a prolonged period of intense rain and wind, which will unfortunately magnify the amplitude of the danger that lies ahead and the just terrible impacts We're very concerned about a humanitarian crisis in the wake of this very slow-moving, very powerful and dangerous hurricane.
A man accused of killing the former Japanese President Shinzo Abe has pleaded guilty on the first day of his trial. Tetsuya Yamagami told a court in the capital Tokyo that everything is true. Yamagami used a homemade gun to shoot Abe during a political campaign event in the western city of Nara in 2022. Abe, who was known for his hawkish foreign policy and signature economic strategy that popularly became known as Abenomics, was struck several times and died in hospital later the same day, sending shockwaves around the world. Sudan's military chief has confirmed the army's withdrawal from its last western stronghold of El Fasher after the paramilitary rapid support forces declared control of the city. In a televised address on Monday evening, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said he had approved the withdrawal in response to the systematic destruction and killing of civilians. Residents who fled El Fasher say they are fearful and distressed after losing contact with relatives still stuck in the city. Yale University's Humanitarian Research Lab said satellite imagery shows a mass killing has been carried out since El Fasher fell. Officials have said a plane crash near Kenya's coast has killed 10 European tourists and a local pilot. Local media have published images of the plane in flames with debris scattered at the site of the crash. The aircraft was flying from the popular beach resort town of Diani to an airstrip in the world-famous Masai Mara game park when it went down at 5:30 a.m. local time. Mombasa Air Safari said the plane was carrying 8 Hungarians, 2 Germans and a Kenyan pilot, all of whom have died in the crash. 10 people accused of sexist cyberbullying of the French president's wife, Brigitte Macron, are due to go on trial in Paris. The defendants are accused of spreading unsubstantiated claims over her gender and sexuality, as well as making malicious remarks about the 24-year age gap between Brigitte and her husband Emmanuel Macron. If found guilty, the defendants face up to 2 years imprisonment. Ivory Coast's President Alassane Ouattara has secured a 4th term following an election in which 2 of the biggest challengers were barred from running. 83-year-old Ouattara won 89.8% of the vote, the Electoral Commission said on Monday, and businessman Jean-Louis Billon came a distant second with just over 3%. The landslide victory is not a huge surprise, as after being banned from the presidential race, the former president and another candidate urged their supporters to boycott the vote entirely. There have been violent protests in Cameroon after the country's 92-year-old president won a controversial 8th term. The Constitutional Council declared Paul Biya, who is the world's oldest head of state, won 53.7% of the vote, compared to the 35% of the opposition leader, Isachimo Bakary. Before the announcement, Bakary, a former Biya ally, insisted he had won the election. And 2 cooling towers of a nuclear plant have been demolished in Germany, having been a fixture of the landscape since 1980. Thick clouds of white smoke and dust rose into the air as the towers collapsed during a controlled demolition with explosives. The nuclear plant has been offline for 4 years, its demolition part of Germany's phasing out of nuclear energy.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. 10-time Women's African Cup of Nations champion Nigeria have qualified for next year's WAFCON after a 1-1 draw with Benin Republic in the return leg of the final round of the qualification series in Abeokuta earlier today. With the result, the Super Falcons advances 3-1 on aggregate. Defender Ashley Plumpton took the lead from a corner by Esther Okoronkwo. Yasmin Jibril leveled the score in the 61st minute. And following viral news of alleged mismanagement of FIFA and CAF grant by the Nigeria Football Federation, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate the NFF from 2015 till date. The House also resolved to invite the leadership of the NFF, past and present, to justify funds received within the period. That sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Senate has rescheduled the screening of newly appointed service chiefs to Wednesday, October the 29th, reversing its earlier plan for next week. Dr. Christopher Kolade, one of Nigeria's most revered statesmen, has been laid to rest, remembered for integrity, service, and a lasting legacy of national leadership. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night.